last straw of the channel. We're winding this series down. Maybe it'll come back again someday. We don't know, but for now, it's looking like I am the only one posting for today. Whoop-de-doo. And today I wanted to do a little hot take, and that is that Cyclops is the Ross Geller of the X-Men franchise. You know, I hear every now and again, it's like, oh, I like Ross from Friends, but like for the most people will generally agree that Ross can be kind of the worst sometimes. He can be kind of annoying. Which is weird because he didn't start out that way. In the first season, he was like the protagonist of the show almost, and you really rooted for him to get with the girl at the end. And that's kind of what Cyclops was, you know. He's the first X-Man ever to join the team. You know, you want him to get with Jean Grey, but oh no, she died. And now he has to find someone else. And oh, she came back to life. That's some relationship drama right there. Will they, won't they? Does anyone care? Who gives a shit? And then there's Emma Frost, who's in there in the mix to make the drama. And we can't forget Logan wants Jean Grey too. So there's a whole can of worms right there. Where am I going with this? So yeah, basically what I'm saying is, not a lot of people like Cyclops. There's a couple of reasons for that. I'm not really going to go into the comic book explanation, but from what I've seen lately, Cyclops has kind of turned into a maniac. Like, almost like a dictator level threat in the Marvel Comics verse. I think he died or something. I don't know. Who doesn't die in Marvel Comics? It's getting... Who cares? But anyway, so where am I going with this? So the reason why I'm talking about Cyclops today is that he's actually my favorite superhero. As weird as that sounds, and I know I get a lot of eye rolls whenever I say that. I don't know what's wrong with me. It's like people ask me like, "Well, where do you want to go in the world?" It's like, "I want to go to Seattle," and everyone's like, "What the fuck? You could go anywhere in the world. You want to go to rainy ass Seattle?" I'm like, "Yeah." It speaks to me, and much like Seattle, Cyclops really speaks to me. He's stoic. He's kind of got this like broodingness to him. He has to make the hard decisions, and even if people disagree, he has to be firm with them. He can shoot frickin' laser beams out of his eyes. And I'll be honest with you, I think he has one of the best costume designs of any Marvel superhero. That visor, man, that's iconic right there. I can't even think of the X-Men without Cyclops. But, like, in all intents and purposes, he hasn't been displayed very well in most media. And I guess this is where I talk about the main gist. The movies. I'm not very fond of the X-Men franchise, if I'm being honest. There's, like, maybe one or two, maybe three good ones. But for every good one, there's, like, 4 bad ones. And I think the reason is the series focuses way too much on Wolverine, Charles, and Magneto. Like, those 3 characters basically take up the brunt of all of the story potential. They're always the main focus, and as such, we don't get to spend a lot of free time with like the other members of the team. Yeah, they get their moment here and there, but they're usually pretty two-dimensional characters. Not too much of a character arc for any of them. And when we talk about Cyclops, I think the first guy we have to mention is James Marsden. I like James Marsden. I think he does a pretty admirable job portraying the first big screen adaptation of Cyclops. He definitely looks the part. He's definitely got like the brooding like Logan kind of thing going on. The rivalry is certainly there. But the only problem I have with him is that the writers don't seem to want to do very much with him. He's either like antagonistic to Wolverine or he's in love with Jean Grey, and there's not too much else. I never feel like he's the leader of the X-Men. I always feel like Wolverine is the most proactive member of the team. So we often focus way more on what he's doing. And other than the first movie where he actually gets to do a bit more, in the sequels he doesn't get to do too much. I'd say the first movie does a pretty good job showing his like abilities as well as his shortcomings, especially when it comes to like the fact that anytime he has his visor off, he has like this unbelievably huge potential for destructive energy to come out of his eyes without his ability to control it. That's always been a fascinating thing about Cyclops. He's like one of the few superheroes who can't really control his powers. I mean, everyone always talks about like the Hulk or people like that, but like Cyclops is technically like incapable of really controlling his powers. That's why he has to wear that visor. I always thought that was nice. It's like it's a crutch for him that he has to bear, and it's an obstacle that he has to face every single day of his life. And yeah, the first movie does a pretty admirable job with Cyclops. I mean, you have him wear like the black outfit and all that, but you know they point fun at that. They point fun at him pretty often, and I don't mind that so much. It's like I like it when like Wolverine's like, you know, he thinks he's Mystique, and Cyclops is just like, prove it. It's like, you're a dick, and Cyclops just kind of shrugs like, yeah, we don't get along, but I like you, Logan. And then we get to the second movie. I don't know what the fuck. X2, don't get me wrong. Definitely the best movie out of the first three X-Men movies, but like, Cyclops barely gets to do fucking anything. Like, he gets knocked out in a single punch. I think it was a kick or something. He gets kicked in the head, gets knocked out. I think he fires a total of maybe like 3 optic blasts in the entire movie. And then he's like predominantly out of commission throughout most of it. Like, he's unconscious and held captive. And then like by the end of the movie, like, Jean Grey dies and he's just like devastated. And then we get to like the one aspect of Cyclops' character that I've never been too fond of, but the writers always milk it for all it's worth. Every time Jean Grey dies, Cyclops is like pretty much like, he's pretty much out of commission for like issues on end, and he always has to take like a vacation or something and clear his head. He just grieves so much for her. And like, if you know anything about Jean, it's like she dies, she comes back as the Phoenix, they have to kill the Phoenix, and then she dies again, and they bring her back, and it's like, it's this big endless cycle. And by this, I think after like the 50th time, I think Cyclops should just be like, oh, whatever. It's like changing the winter tires at this point. But like, then we get to the third movie, and I honest to God hate X3 simply for the way they treat Cyclops in this movie. That was like the biggest turnoff for me as a kid, because what ended up happening is like James Marsden, since Bryan Singer was no longer attached to X-Men 3, Bryan Singer was busy working on Superman Returns. So he enlisted the help of James Marsden to play Lois Lane's husband or whatever. And yeah, can we talk about this? Why does James Marsden play like the most perfect cuck in the world? He plays a cuck in The Notebook. He's basically the cycloptic cuck of X-Men. And then he's even like a cuck in like Enchanted, because he doesn't get with Giselle by the end. He gets with the Idina Menzel. He's still, I don't know. He just never gets the girl at the end. He's always like second fiddle. He's always getting screwed over. What's the deal with that? I think there's another movie he's in that he gets cucked. He gets cucked a lot. James Marsden, you either get cucked or you're like second banana to a CGI animal that makes like dumb jokes. What's with you, man? Go back to stuff like Sex Drive. I liked you in Sex Drive. That was fun. But anyways, enough James Marsden. So he was too busy with Superman Returns to work on X-Men 3 for very long. So the writers, in all their eternal wisdom, decided to do the most sensible thing. You know, I mean, we could have Cyclops maybe take a break from the X-Men. He could go on a spirit journey, and then maybe by the end of the movie he snaps out of it and realizes he has a commitment to the team, and he comes back and he gathers his teammates and is like, "All right, X-Men, assemble." Well, I don't really say assemble, but you group up. We gotta fight Magneto. But they don't do that. Yeah, Cyclops gets killed off in like one of the most unceremonious ways possible. Like Jean Grey basically comes back, but she's the Phoenix Force, and she just accidentally like she cures him of his optic blast problem, and she just fucking disintegrates him. And I was like, man, why did you do that? They weren't even clear about it. They had to make it all ambiguous and shit. Like, just in case. And that made me so mad because you gotta realize, like, Cyclops was my favorite superhero as a kid, so, like, seeing him just taken out like that was such a punk move. They didn't have to go that route. And I don't know why superhero movies do this thing, where it's like they can't just have a character get arrested or defeated or just, run away and come back in a sequel. No, they just, they just killed him on the spot. So that it's like, oh, yeah, we're never going to see that guy again. Well, unless we reboot the franchise in another 5 years. We're the X-Men franchise. Our timeline is so flawed that you could probably turn it into Swiss cheese. That's how flawed it is. But, yeah, I digress. So, yeah, James Marsden kind of bowed down from the role of being the Cyclops. And, I think the next appearance he even had was, the glorious, one of the best Wolverine movies ever made, X-Men Origins Wolverine. Yeah, this movie is like a bag of shit, but it's a glorious bag of shit. It's like one of the worst superhero movies I've ever seen. It does a terrible job pleasing fans of any kind. And it's amazing that, like, the X-Men, the video game, X-Men Origins Wolverine, was even better than the movie itself. Seriously, play that game. It is the tits. But anyways, going back to Cyclops, we have Tim Pocock playing him. And he's supposed to be like a younger teenage Scott Summers. And honestly, I don't mind him so much. I like his opening scene in the classroom where, like, we see from his point of view. He has the red shades. And once again, his powers just, like, turn on a dime and he destroys, like, an entire school. Which is very close to his origin story. And, yeah, he's alright. He even gets a little moment to, like, lead, like, a group of mutants out of a facility. And it's like, oh, that's sweet. He's kind of, like, using leadership skills. And it's like, how do you know this? And he's like, trust me. It's like, yeah, I want to get behind that guy. He could lead us to safety. And Emma Frost is there too, I guess. I don't know why, but she's just there. You remember her? They get together in the comics, guys. It's a wink. Just like that guy who shoots guns and makes wisecracks and breaks the fourth wall. See that guy? That's Deadpool. But we're not really going to call him Deadpool, and we're going to totally piss you off by not treating him with any sort of respect. God damn it. Yeah, Tim Pocock only had the one appearance as Cyclops, regrettably, so then we get into the Matthew Vaughn timeline, and this is where things get a little messy. But, not that I dislike the Vaughn timeline. I mean, they had to do something to keep the franchise alive. And, in First Class, we see Cyclops' brother Havoc, Alex Summers, who's kind of like Cyclops in that he can shoot energy beams from his hands and not his eyes, and he has far more control over it. But it wasn't until Days of Future Past where the movie kind of threw me for a loop. It was actually much better than I anticipated, because at this point I was pretty burnt out with X-Men because they were all so Wolverine-centric that it's like, I don't even know. It doesn't even feel like an X-Men movie anymore. It just feels like every single mutant in this movie is just there for like a special effects demo reel, and I hate that. It's just like you could do so much more with this. And the one thing that caught me off guard was by the end of the movie when Logan fixes the timeline and stops the Sentinel program from taking off. He comes back to like the Bryan Singer era of X-Men, and everyone's back. You have Kelsey Grammer and and Jean Grey's back, and then like just out of nowhere, Cyclops just pops in and is like, oh, "Hey, buddy," and he's like, "Scott, it's you." And he just hugs him, and Cyclops is like, "What? Yeah, I'm gonna leave you two alone now." I'm like, you know what? For all it's worth, this is probably like the happiest I've ever been to see Cyclops on screen. Just like for that one moment, it felt so special to me. It's like they rectified my least favorite thing in the trilogy, and he's back. He's back. So yeah, but that was like the last time James Marsden played the role, and I think it was a nice note to end on. And then we get into Ty Sheridan from X-Men Apocalypse. Now, X-Men Apocalypse is in no way a good X-Men movie. It's actually like total schlock. But the only aspect I really loved about it was the fact that we got to see a young, early rendition of the original X-Men team, where you have like young mutants who are like, gonna go into their own as the real X-Men, and they're like teenagers. And in all fairness, I think Ty Sheridan so far is my favorite iteration of Cyclops, at least in live action. He's not exactly accurate. He's a little bit more like easygoing, a little bit more of a rebel at times. He doesn't always follow the rules, which definitely goes against Cyclops' initial role of being like the Boy Scout of the crew. But I like how he's able to take the lead. I like how, despite the fact that he suffers a tragedy halfway through the movie, it doesn't stop him. It actually fuels him forward, which is what Cyclops is supposed to be in my book. I like that more about his character, is that he can keep persisting even after everything he suffers through. That's what makes him inspiring. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, I like Ty Sheridan as Cyclops. I think I think more people should give him credit. I haven't seen Dark Phoenix, and I don't wanna because it looks terrible. But like, I don't know, man. It's just like I hear he drops like an F-bomb, and it's like the most unintentionally funny thing. He's like, "If you touch Jean, I'll fucking kill you. Fighting me is like antifreeze. Put me in your mouth, and I'll fucking kill you." I don't know why he said that. Anyways, then we have that. So, essentially, the last time we saw Ty Sheridan Cyclops. Oh no, wait, no, that was. But like the last time I saw him, Dark Phoenix notwithstanding, was in Deadpool 2. And I think they kind of dropped the ball here because in Deadpool 2, Deadpool's teamed up with Cable. If you know even like anything about Cable, you should know that Cable is actually the son of Cyclops. Cyclops he had, after Cable was born, he developed like this nanovirus that was eating away at his body. And Cyclops knew that they didn't have the technology to fix him like in his present timeline. So they sent him into the future where they could rectify his disease. But unfortunately, he had to stay in that timeline, and he became like a soldier of like the apocalypse. I forget the exact term of the event, but it was like basically every mutant was being hunted down. Just think Logan. But anyways, yeah, they had a perfect opportunity to have at least one scene where Cable could have bumped into Cyclops, and I mean like a young Ty Sheridan Cyclops, and just be like, "Father," and he would just start crying. This 50-year-old muscular dude, and Ty Sheridan would be like, "What the fuck?" Deadpool 3. Okay, here's my pitch. You have Deadpool, Cable, a really young Cyclops, and maybe another person just to tag along. Maybe like Bob from Hydra. And just have these like 4 people getting sucked into like this intergalactic adventure. It would be so cheesy, but it would be so fun. And I think that's what I want to see. I want to see Cyclops in more like fun environments. I want to see him kind of like loosen up a little bit. Like even Deadpool could be like, you could lighten, you're allowed to smile. You can smile, it's not illegal, it's free. It actually takes less muscles to smile than it does to frown. So you're actually conserving energy, Lighten up. Oh shit, light him up. Okay? Pew, pew, pew. I think way too much about this stuff. But yeah, now that the MCU has basically soaked up Fox and they basically own all the rights now, I'm very curious whether they're going to recast everybody or just like keep the main cast from like the current like Vaughn verse and just like revamp the series and structure it alongside the MCU. It would be interesting, although I don't really know how X-Men will even work in the MCU because everyone thinks superheroes are like commonplace in that world. So how are you gonna have like mutant like prejudice when like some of the most beloved people of all time are like the Avengers and other people like that, or like Spider-Man, where it's just like, oh wow. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know how that's gonna work. I kind of hope Ty Sheridan returns as like Cyclops because I think he's really good at it. I'm not just saying that because he wears a visor, like in Ready Player One, But like, if I had to say my favorite iteration of Cyclops, it's actually not even from the movies. I always think X-Men works best in a television format. You get far more time for the cast to like integrate with themselves, to find like they can have like a spotlight episode that shows their backstory, or they can have like a mission on their own or maybe with others, and you get more time with them and you get to see what they're capable of rather than just like a handful of set pieces where they can like fight dudes and you don't really know what the stakes are, and it's all just kind of like a flurry of like special effects animation and not much else. You don't get to feel very much for the characters. But like, I know there's the 90s X-Men show. I didn't get to watch a lot of that. Sorry, I'm tired. But the X-Men show I grew up with was X-Men Evolution. And I thought that was a terrific show. I was always a big fan of that one. And I think that show does a wonderful job with Scott Summers. He's a younger man. Everyone in this show is like in like high school, except for like people like Storm and Wolverine. They're aged up a bit, but like Cyclops in this show, he's very much just like a standard like kind of like sporty, preppy kind of kid. Wants to do best for everyone. A little judgmental, perhaps. A little bit eager to like get confrontational. But there are episodes that really highlight his strengths and weaknesses to like the fullest, to their fullest ability. I think my favorite episode is one where like Mystique kidnaps him, throws him in like Mexico or something. Like he's alone in the desert, and he's like she takes his visor, so he has no idea where he is, and he can't like keep his eyes open because he's worried of like destroying like nearby towns or whatever, or hurting someone. And the language barrier is tough, and the X-Men have no idea where he is, so he has to keep like searching and like struggling to like stay alive. It's a very good episode with him. And yeah, honestly, that's got to be my favorite iteration of Cyclops. I actually have a statue of him, like a 8-inch, 10-inch statue of him, along with my Cyclops shrine. I have a bunch of action figures of him. So yeah, I guess going down the list of like iterations of Cyclops, I think there's a few things I want to address. There's a few reasons I want to give some points, because I think there's a chance that much like other characters from the MCU, like maybe like Captain America or Thor, where before the Avengers, like not too many people really talked about them like openly or like with such fervor. until like they were shown on the big screen and they became like pop culture icons. There's a few things I think they could do to make Cyclops a little bit better. First of all, I want to see him be more of a leader. I want to see him take charge of a team. I want to see him conduct the team and use them to their best ability, because that makes them look good, it makes him look good, it makes him feel more like a team rather than just splintered off people who just have to do their own thing and make their own decisions. It's just like, yeah, but like the X-Men, it's cool when like they act like coordinated, you know? That's what I always liked. And another thing is, I want to have him stop being so like torn up all the time. It's okay if you want to show like personal drama, that's fine, but I hate the fact that every single time the fucking Phoenix Saga is just like Scott saying like, Jean, 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 Jean. Like, I could have a drinking game of that. So stop with that shit. Stop making him grovel all the time. Stop having him grieve like constantly. I know it's part of his character, I understand that. But it'd be nice if he had like, instead of just stopping dead in his tracks, it'd be nice if he could have like the will to keep going. Because, you know, like I've read so much about Cyclops. I know so much about him. I know his father is like a space pirate who survived the plane crash that he suffered. I know that the reason why he can't control his powers is because he was in a plane accident. I know his brother is like a renegade mutant. I know like his son. I know like pretty much most of his relationships with other mutants. And I know his rivalry with Wolverine. And that's another thing. You know, like, as much as I like seeing him bicker with Wolverine, I want this thing where it's like they both have a mutual respect for each other. It's not like Wolverine's sick of him and he's sick of Logan. I want, like, at the end of the day, like, these two will fight constantly, but at the end of the day, they always respect each other and treat each other like respectable members of the X-Men, like they both deserve to be part of the team. And they never do that very often in like any iteration. But it's so important, like it's such a major component of the group, especially when they're involved. Like Logan and Scott never see eye to eye, but sometimes they do, and I want to see more of that. I want a moment like in the Avengers where like Steve and Tony bickering like an old married couple, but at the end of the day, like by the end of the movie, Tony knows that Steve is like has like the strongest leadership quality, and he can command very well, and Steve knows that Tony can like really bring like a level of a level of force against like really heavy opponents. So yeah, I want to see more of that. I want to see like Logan and Scott like lean on each other a bit and support each other. And then another thing is like the relationship stuff. It's nice, but there's a little too much of it. Like it almost gets to the point where Scott's a little like codependent, I would say. Like the codependency it's a little bothersome sometimes, and I know it's in the comics, and I know he and Jean have always had like a strong mental link for another. But like in the movies, he's just always so clingy, and I wish it wasn't like I wish it wasn't always displayed so toxically. I know in like Dark Phoenix and Apocalypse, like the relationship is a little bit better from what I've seen, and it's like, oh, that's good. I don't mind that. But I just wish it wasn't always such a constant thing, because it kind of takes a little less agency out of him. It makes it seem like he's not always like, it's not always like he's, it's like he has very little else to do other than, date Jean and lead the team. Just like a little, I guess it gives him a little bit of a personal life, but it's just like it always seems to be such a major chunk of him. And like I said, cut down on the gene. Cyclops is a laser shooter, not a gene machine. You know what I mean? Holy crap. Oh my god, I feel like I'm talking about this for hours. But, I don't know, like that's the thing about Cyclops. I like him despite the fact that he's not popular, despite the fact that I understand there's probably never going to be like an X-Men Origins like Cyclops movie. Like that's not going to come. I think they planned for it, but there's just like nobody, not enough people like him. But I'm glad that I'm not the only one. I go on many forums and I always like chat up with people who love Cyclops, and a lot of people tell me like, "Oh, Lyle, you would kill it as a Cyclops cosplayer," and I'm like, I know, I just lost all my hair. What can I do? I guess I'll have to wear like the outfit that has like the hood on it so it can cover my bald ass head. But like, yeah, I guess what I want to conclude with it. Here's the reason why I love Cyclops, regardless. I know he's a bit of a pill sometimes, and he's not. He's a bit of a strong personality that not everyone can always jive with. But I love the fact that despite his inability to control his power, despite his numerous tumultuous relationships, despite like his broken family life, and the fact that he always has like this emotional insecurity in him, I like the fact that he can still command one of the most powerful superhero teams in Marvel Comics. I like the fact that he can always find the best part of each and one of his comrades and bring out the best in them and use them for like everyone's benefit. I like the fact that he fights for something, that he strives for something, that he wants what's best for his own kind. And I appreciate the fact that he's essentially a beacon for mutants. That might be a little cheesy, but I think he's a beacon of light for all of mutants. And I will stand by that. I think Cyclops could be such a cool character. He could be such an idealistic character. He could be an inspiring character. And he could be like one of the best X-Men in an X-Men movie. That we just gotta give him a little bit more to do. You gotta stop marginalizing him so much. And it'll be in the bag. And I bet there's so many fans out there who would love to see Cyclops be kick-ass. To be like a really cool like part of the story. Maybe he doesn't have to be the protagonist. Surely, I understand. Like he's a little bit safe. You might want someone who has a little bit more of an outsider presence, but like it's just no denying. I just love Scott Summers. I've always been a big fan of his character, and I just want to see him do better, you know. So that's my spiel on Mr. Summers. Hope you liked it. Leave a like and a comment below if you feel there are ways that he could be a bit of a better character, and yeah, let me know. Let me know which X-Men character you would like to see get more of a spotlight in future installments. And yeah, that's my last straw.